Hey everybody, how's it going? So thanks for coming along to episode 2 of this Planet Coaster mini-series. We're back in our fictitious coastal town, and I'm working on the starter park that I've put onto the workshop. Now I'm going to be working on Dismayland in this episode, but you guys of course are going to be calling it whatever you can, ready to submit it to me. So in the last episode, this is what we were working on. It was the town and the starter park and the area that we're going to be focusing on, the whole entire park, which is this bit here. So my episode today is going to be all in this area. I'm going to be putting the roller coasters into this episode, and I'm going to put the rides into the next episode, and then the final touches in the episode after. That's why it's a mini series. So I'm going to stop waffling, and we're going to get straight on. Alright then, you guys, I'm going to be completely honest here. I've vastly underestimated the space that this park gives you. I've only been able to fit 3 coasters in when I had plans for 4. There is a 4th one. If I can fit it in, it's going to go in. But we've got this Schwarzkopf coaster that you're probably going to recognise from previous projects. But it's here. I'll talk about that in a moment. We've got this S&S. I think these are the Locos. You're going to recognise the layout of this one, but this is custom built. And then we've also got ourselves an awesome little junior coaster. Very similar to Fundy, but it's not the Fundy one. The Fundy one was a very different layout. So the principle that's sitting behind here is that this park would have semi-permanent installations. These are the ones that are rooted into the ground. They're not necessarily travelling fair style roller coasters, but they certainly wouldn't be the heavy style roller coaster, because for the realism fans out there, this bit here is like a jetty and it's a pier. It's not actually supported. This is just sand. So you're going to have to reinforce all of these walls and all of this stuff that's going on here. You can't put heavy roller coasters in here, you know, like the likes of B&Ms and Intamans and whatever. They would be the more the lighter ones with lots and lots of supports to keep it going. So let's talk about these coasters real quick, because I know that this view is not very interesting, right? It's just 3 roller coasters. But this Schwarzkopf one, you've seen this before. I used it in Colwell Wonderland. I have used it in Fundy Fun Spot, and I'm using it here as well. Now, the principle behind this would be that the park like this would be using a cookie cutter style roller coaster, right? They'd go to a manufacturer, pull it off the shelf. Think of Brighton Pier and Turbo Coaster there. That's also, I think it's Southport. There's a clone, and I think also at Breen Leisure Park, I think there's a clone there as well. It's the same layout. So this is the kind of principle here, that it would just be recoloured and thrown into a location. If you've not seen this before, you've got the lift hill, you've got the first drop into the only inversion, and then lots of twists and turns and airtime hills and a couple of brake runs as well, just so you can run as many trains on here as you can. Now, previously this was coloured yellow and red, but this time I've chosen purple and green, and that's purely because it looked pretty cool from here, from outside, right? It's kind of like the sight line that I was going for. So then we're going to come over to the S&S El Loco. So as I said, this is custom made. It's using the 4-meter method. It's as close to Mumbo Jumbo at Flamingo Land as I'm going to be able to get. So it turns around outside of the station. Now I know that the El Locos don't use drive tyres here, right? I know that. I've had to take the design decision to put them in because the friction, even I think this is on 0.7, the friction here, it slows it down too much and it just ruins the experience. So I've put the drive tyres in to maintain realism, ironically, right? So please don't hit me up in the comments. Drive tyres with bigger things to worry about. And it comes into 33-degree lift hill. And then it comes into this, like, a weird U-turn. So it twists around to the dog legs to the right, and then it turns around and then into the beyond vertical drop. This isn't a record breaker. It's not going for Mumbo Jumbo's title. It's just beyond vertical because it's the thrilling part, right? And the track and the supports and everything on here are light enough to put into this spot. Then of course it goes into the first turnaround. I don't know if this is banked enough. Like, it doesn't ride like it's banked enough, but it still rides correctly. But anyway, then it goes into an out bank, an outer bank, an off bank. I don't know what they're called. Outer bank curve. It's one that's adverse camber, as we would call it when we're driving, right? And then it goes into a normal helix, and then goes into the half loop down, and then comes up into another brake run, and then it comes round the corner into the downward inline barrel roll. So that's about as close as you're going to get to the shaping as you can, because of the size of the coaster we're using. The smooth, it's not ideal. Even with the autocomplete method, it still wasn't riding right. So this is the closest I've been able to get in 4 hours worth of toying with this, right? So then it comes into, this is a bit of a design choice because of the way that this track type works. It comes into a small bunny hop. The real life ones, the counterparts, don't do that. They come up and they go immediately underneath the lift hill here, but I wanted to maintain these supports without having to do too many custom supports, so I've taken the design decision to put a bunny hop in and then put the overbanked turn into the brake run. And the El Loco's brake runs are actually like this. I didn't think they were angled, but they actually are, so we're just going to run with that, right? So then we come into the kids coaster. Now there's going to be I think this is going to be fairy tale theming. I've never actually done fairy tale theming on this channel before. The closest we got was Tudor in Chachalandia, so I'm going to do some real light fairy tale theming around this one. So again, it comes around the corner into a lift hill, and then it just does like stuff, right? Stuff. It comes around the first drop into a small bunny hop hill, and then it comes around this way and then does like double backs on itself in a bit of a figure of 8, and then into the brake run. It only does 1 lap. As you can see, it's quite popular, so we're gonna run with that. Now when it comes to this and the competition, guys, I just need to let you know that you are free to put this into the scenario editor and make some changes. I've just realized when I was building this myself, I've actually forgotten to make all of the research available. That's not intentional. You're not limited to your palette. If you want to go in and make that all available, go ahead. And also you might want to consider turning down the guest generation rate, because this is too much for this type of park. I'd probably turn it down to about 25%. I'm going to, because these queues are just unrealistic for this type of park that we're building. Like this one, for example, probably wouldn't have much more than this bit here. This cattle penning here wouldn't be a thing. Likewise with this El Loco, you would probably only have 1 line here, and then the path would kick in around this area because you'd want to fill the space. And then for this Schwarzkopf, you wouldn't have any of this cattle penning either. Your queue would probably come around the station and then down to probably here, and then this would be where your path is. So I'm going to turn the guest generation rate down so that it's a bit friendlier, but it's up to you whether you do or not. You know, work with what you've got. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to carry on decorating. I'll see you in a minute. Alright, so it's the middle part of the episode where I get to completely underwhelm you with a part built thing. Most of you already switched off, so you don't even know this part exists, and the ones that have stayed love the waffle. So, hiya you guys! So, see, nothing changes. It might be a mini-series, but we're still talking crap. So, this is the Schwarzkopf coaster that I've got here. You're going to recognise the station design. It's very, very similar to the one that I used in Fundy Funds, but it's not identical, because I obviously wanted to do something different. But when I researched the coasters that you find in Bream and in Blackpool and whatever, you'll tend to find that they sell the station design with the coaster. You don't have to go off and source the station design, and they wouldn't bother to theme this, right? So it kind of felt fitting that it would be almost like a blueprint that we would just alter ever so slightly. So that's what I've done. So in terms of the main part here, I didn't really show this to you in Fundy Fun Spot, but what I've got here is the escape platforms and everything, and they actually feed somewhere. So you've got the ability to evacuate your trains at this point that it's just arriving at. You can come down the stairs, and then you've got a safety barrier that allows you then to evacuate safely out into the area here. So that's quite important when you come to these temporary kind of coasters. Evacuations do tend to happen quite a lot, and when you're dealing with this kind of area, you're going to have high winds and everything, so the risk of stalling is actually quite high. So what you tend to find is that you actually do evacuate quite a lot on coastal coasters. So there you go, you're going to need that. I need to do some fine detailing on here. There's a few electric cables and stuff that I need to add, so that's coming in the next update anyway. Likewise with the stuff that's inside the station, so I have reduced the queue line along here. So whereas before I had it all the way along here, I'm going to use that space for rides and stuff. We need to maximize space. So I haven't changed the guest generation rate yet, so as you can see, everyone's fighting for it. But this is about the right length of queue for this kind of coaster, for this kind of park. And inside the station, I haven't done any of the detailing yet. I need to do all of the TMTK pass. I need to do all of the station detailing, the electric boxes, the cables, and all of that sort of stuff. So all of that's still to come. But you can see that we're going for this very open design. And that's exactly as I wanted it, and it's very familiar to Fundy Fun Spot. If you've seen it, I make no apologies for the fact that this is very, very similar. As I said, the manufacturer of this coaster sells the station with it, so it kind of comes as a package. And when I looked at the Turbo Coaster on Brighton Pier, I looked at Crazy Coaster at Breen Leisure Park, and the other one in Southport, I think it is. They all had the same station, so it kind of comes out in real life as well. So it sort of fits. Anyway, enough about that. We're going to come over to our El Loco, which appears to have nobody on it, and I don't know why. Not even bothered. So I think it's because the prestige on this, I've made some changes and it's lowered the prestige. So like, for example, these brakes weren't actually slowing the train down enough. I've reduced the friction, so I think it's reduced the prestige to the point where people just don't want to go on it anymore. And that's fine, whatever. We're here to look at the station anyway. Another station design then that I haven't put any of the fine details in yet. It's just a station design. And I've gone for this like pitched roof. It's just cheap, right? So on the top here we've got loads of corrugated metal and everything, and then you've just got some beams that just polish it off. The roof isn't particularly high, it's not particularly decorated, it's not particularly themed, it's just there, right? It's just almost a temporary coaster that could be removed at a moment's notice, but it's permanent enough to be semi-permanent. I'm actually thinking that this roof might be just a little bit too short. I think I need to raise it a little, because it's just this bit here is causing me a bit of nerves, so I think I might raise it actually. But the principle remains the same. I've got enough room to play with. I wanted the sign for the ride to be on the front here. So the ride does have an... Oh, there's people. Maybe it's just reopened after a breakdown. So I do have a ride name. It's a winner on the poll that's going over on the community. So that's going to be in for the final update, because I'm going to need to do an actual sign and stuff for it. So, but I just started to kit it out and decorate it with some random stuff. It doesn't have a theme, so it would just have things thrown at it, and the inside of the ride area itself would be completely blank. Now I do need to do some escape platforms from here. As you can see, they are in a very similar place, so the evacuation strategy would be very similar. And you would actually evacuate from here using a cherry picker rather than having stairs. Anyway, so I need to do that for the next update. But the actual inside here wouldn't really contain much detailing. I think I'm actually going to do what I did in Fundy and put stuff like bins and whatever in here, because it would be an absolute mess of an area. Like, there's just no effort involved with it at all. And this is a difficult update to do, because it looks really bland and it looks really boring, especially when you look at the other builds that I've been doing. And that's because there's no life to the park, there's no other rides, there's no shops, there's no music, there's no nothing. It's just concrete and a coaster. And that's exactly what this park is supposed to be, concrete and coasters. That should be the title of the episode, Concrete and Coasters. So it's really difficult to do when you're not dealing with foliage and scenery and theming and stuff. So I'm hoping that you guys are kind of picking up on this idea of jank. This is supposed to be like this, as best as you can. But there is one ride though that they have made an effort with, and that's this one. It's the kiddie coaster. It's the fairy tale theme. So I've used all of the brickwork that you find, the castle brickwork. Now this would actually be things like paper mache bricks, and these wouldn't actually be stone. It would just be like paper mache, or the equivalent. It would just be decorated paper. It's really not inspiring at all. And wooden fences, because it's cheap. The hedge I am not entirely certain about. I think it would be a plastic hedge, which is fine. They do exist. I've seen them in real life, but again, because this is Planet Coaster, this is a real hedge, right? It's a living hedge. But anyway, the idea is that it's a dragon's lair. You've got the fake trees, and you've got all of the fairy tale stuff that lives in the middle. You go around the dragon that's in here, and you go through some rocks. That's it. That's all there is to it. Like, it's as simple as that. As I said, we're not spending money on theming. We're not immersive. We're not doing anything. It's just how cheap can you make it, and how effective can you make it. So yeah, just like the other coasters, there's no detailing done in here. I still need to do all the fine details. I've done all this by design, by the way, so I can show you the idea of the theming, and then you can see how it comes together when you do the final details. So like I say, I've got the concrete and stuff underneath the station still needs doing, and the access point here for all of the electric cables and stuff, that all needs doing. But I quite like it. It's looking good. I'm not too sure about these because these are real. It's real fire in game, isn't it? And I don't know whether it would be lights or whether it would be that fake plastic fire that flaps in the wind and makes it look like fire. But then I don't know how you'd replicate that in Planet Coaster, so I think we might just need to stick with it being fire and just squint and believe. There's going to be quite a few trade-offs that are involved with making jank, I think. So yeah, I'm going to have a play anyway and see whether there's anything I can do to make it still move but not look like actual fire. So these are the 3 coasters that we've got so far. Now all you've got to do is kind of like imagine that there's a load of rides and everything that are around it. The pathing, by the way, isn't going to stay there. Pathing is just to make the place work for now. Of course, we're going to have rides and stuff in the next episode. So I'm going to carry on detailing these coasters and we will finish up with some finished designs. All right, let's go. Alright, so it still looks a little bit barren, it still looks a little bit bare, but given that this episode was supposed to focus on the roller coasters, we are done for now! Yes! So, we're going to come over to the El Loco to start with. This does now have a name. Alex V, you won the vote on the workshop, not the workshop, the community tab. So, your name was the Hanged Man, but I've had to shorten it slightly so that it fits onto the actual sign. So, I hope you don't mind, we're calling it Hangman instead. Still has the same idea behind the name, and the theming behind it was that you sort of hang over here, and then this bit where you do the invert that is going down now, that sort of hangs. So that's kind of the idea that was going there, so we're paying homage to that. And in terms of the decoration around the actual thing then, so remember that these are essentially semi-permanent installations of travelling coasters, so they're not going to be highly themed, they're not going to be highly decorated or highly kitted out. In fact, this is literally put onto a bed of pallets, and this is exactly what they do in I was going to say Dismayland, then that's where that's where we are now, in the Tropicana Park fun spot, or whatever it's called, Funland. So this is exactly what they do. Like, they put down all of these pallets and everything just to form a floor, because the ground underneath it is just such poor quality because it's been used for so many different things that it's not a theme park. So that's what I've done here. Lots and lots and lots of pallets, lots of stuff. But what I have done is I've started to bring this idea that there's foliage and everything starting to peek through. So we don't have trees, we don't have bushes, we don't have flowers and stuff. It's not terrain, but we do have weeds and stuff that are starting to come through. And because this wouldn't necessarily be a designated area, I've also just put some generators in as well. So there's one there and there's one over here as well, and it's sort of almost like a bit of a storage area too. So this would be where they would keep spare parts for this coaster and the spare wheels and all of that sort of stuff. So that's what we're going for in this area, a bit of a rundown thing. And again, watch the POVs of, I think it's now called Eurocoaster from Funland. It's a mess. So, and then the actual station itself, I've done a lot more detailing. So in here, all of the usual stuff, the electric boxes. Now, because these aren't permanent roller coasters, they don't have things like push points and staff points and stuff. Like, it's not an organised theme park. So this guy that stood over in our box here, perfectly sufficient for what we're trying to achieve here. So we wouldn't have the station detailing that we would normally have in a big park. And then I've just put all of the usual stuff down here. So you've got the electric cabinets that control the ride, just some clutter that's supposed to be hidden from the main part of the park, but it's not really hidden at all, is it? Because you come around the bend and it's there, right? So, ta-da! And then I'm starting to fill the space with as much as I can. So I still haven't done the guest generation rate and stuff yet, so that's going to come, but I'm starting to fill in as much space with as much stuff as I can. So there will be like vending machines down here, and there'll be games machines and whatever, because they're making the use of the small space that they've actually got here. So I'm going to detail this more in future episodes when we start to do the detailing of the full park, but this is just starting to get that ready. And of course the queue is now decorated and kitted out as I wanted it, and I've just put some ride signs and stuff up, usual safety signs and height signs and whatever. And then this came from Fundy. It was one of the submissions. I think it was Glenn that did it. Glenn, I can't remember your last name. I'm really sorry. You know who you are. Leave a comment so we can thank you. So yeah, this was one of the submissions for Fundy. It's an ice cream stand, and this was just too good to leave out because this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect for what we wanted, or what I wanted in this space. This is the type of thing that you'd find, right? So this was exactly right, and it's just so beautiful. And it's a shame that I didn't get to use much more of it in Fundy. So this is giving it back into pride of place over here. And then this is just one that I've just thrown together. It's nothing particularly special. It's just a ribs and smoothies place. It was just acting as a sort of like a secondary area, just to drag some guests away, because I've only got one path at the moment, so it's a bit of a mess. But I did want to show you one little trick that I have done, and I'm hoping that I'm going to have to do this right with the camera. So inside this bin, I've actually put a bin. Would you believe? And it actually looks like it's a proper bin. So I only found this out today. I mean, you have to sort of ignore that this bit down here is still on show, but it's a wheelie bin that's got a real life bin in it, and this is the road bin, you know, the lattice bins that we've got. So it's just placed inside, and it actually looks like it's a bin. And then the janitors come along and they put their broom in the top, and yeah, it's really good actually. I was like, this is one of those surprise. So anyway, moving on, waffling. So then we come over to the Dragon coaster. So exactly the same principle as before. We've got a sign, we've got the entrance stuff, etc., etc. So that's all done. We've done some station detailing as well, so we've got some push points and we've got some electric cabling and some clutter and whatever going on down here. But you'll also notice that I've put mulch and some gravel down here. So parks like this and parks like Breen will use gravel and tree bark to kit out areas because it's really, really cheap and nasty to do, right? So you get a really good effect really, really cheaply. So that's what we're going for here. They would have just spread a load of bark around just to make it feel like it was some kind of an island or sand or something. In fact, this might even be sand that they would put down. And then the gravel is just where there's the bigger wearing bits, you know, where they don't want it to, the wind from the passing trains and whatever to blow stuff out the way and whatever. So that's kind of what we're going for here. And I think it looks really good, actually. I think it looks relatively realistic enough, especially if you come down to sort of this level, because it pokes out and it's not even and it's just a mess, but it's enough to make it look all right. And it also breaks up the concrete as well, so it gives it a little bit more of a personality. And then we've got the station that's actually kitted out. This looks quite all right now. I'm quite pleased with how this is. Done some touching up. Decided to keep the flames. I couldn't find anything to replace the flames, so we are just sticking with it. Squint and believe, right? It is what it is. Don't fight with the game if you don't need to, that sort of thing. And then we come over to our Schwarzkopf. This one is called Super Looper. I'm borrowing a little bit from Hershey Park for this one, so Super Duper, Super Duper Duper. And I've used the same technique, right? So I've put down the mulch and the tree bark, and I've also put down the gravel as well on the harder wearing areas. And this time, just like I did with the El Loco, I've also put the weeds and everything growing through from the mulch and stuff. So I wanted that effect here, and this is probably a more permanent coaster than maybe the El Loco might be, or this is possibly an older coaster than the El Loco might be, so it would have slightly more weeds. But what I've done is I've made sure that I haven't put it in this area so that it actually looks like it's just been done by patchwork. They've just thrown it down into this middle of the ride area and they've forgotten a bit. So that's what I've done here, is I've sort of tried to accent it to go, oh, we ran out and it's fine, whatever, it's concrete, deal with it. And likewise here as well. So these two gaps, it's done by design, and I've used the escape pathway as like that barrier to say, oh, we'll go up to the escape and it's done, right? It's whatever. So that's where we're going there anyway. And station wise, I have put these trims along here to make it look like it's a metal catwalk. I have actually made the pathing, the deck, the whatever you want to call it. This is now that metal tactile pathing, because that's what this would be. It would be that metal flooring. So I've just copied that across. And then of course we've got loads of the stuff on here now, because this would be older, and of course it's going to be through the elements, like the sea and everything. It's a sea wall, it's a retaining wall, so the waves are going to come over that wall at some point. So we've just got some water damage and stuff to the actual station as well, just to make it look like it's a little bit more weathered. It's sort of kempt, but it needs a bit of love. That's kind of what we're going for. with this one. And then again, this area here is just making use of the available space. You wouldn't be able to fit a ride or a stall or anything here, so it's just about throwing in some benches that apparently have been broken and a couple of vending machines just to fill that space. And then there's the principle of the mulch running out again. So it's sort of like the gravel has been put down, but the mulch or the tree bark or whatever hasn't actually quite come up to the fence. So it's that almost lack of attention to detail that this park would go for. That's what we're going for here with this jank. It's like they've just gone, it's fine, whatever, it's just done. And so that's where we're sitting with the roller coasters. So the next episode we're going to focus on putting in all of the rides. I've already chosen a palette of rides. You won't see them here. Look, there's no spoilers. But I've already chosen the palette of rides. So these are going to get dotted in. That's going to be the next episode. And then the episode after is going to be the final details and the stalls and the shops and everything. So that's kind of like a thing. And then that's the season done. And then we can actually start a bigger park. So don't forget to be working on your versions of this park. I really can't wait to see them. TROPICHACHO is your word that you need to load your stuff back into the workshop. Really, really excited. So many questions coming in, so I know that I'm in for some good ones. I really can't wait. But guys, thank you for getting to the end of this video. I'm going to pop some POVs of these 3 coasters in now, so we're going to go for a ride. But until we speak again next week, please look after yourselves. Take care. Bye-bye.